me just make sure I'm doing it right. Yep, okay. We're gonna put that back on 40. I like to keep it between 40 and 70 when I do that. Alright, so now we're erasing Goldstone again. So I'm doing this so I don't accidentally put Goldstone over Manafort, because we don't want that. We want them separated. So we're going to do that. There we go. And we can always draw in the suit, you know. And if you think about it, I mean, Rob Goldstone, from where he is, we kind of made him sort of big. We could maybe make him a little smaller. So to do that, you can just press Control T to transform, and we can just sort of bring him in just a little bit like that. And then let's go ahead and we're going to make a group for him. So we're going to do one. We're going to do color. Remember, color needs to go beneath the line layer. We're going to do highlight. And I don't think I actually did hash yet on Paul Manafort, but we'll do that. So we're going to do hash. Okay, now we're going to make, so what I did is I went up here to the horizontal lines, and I'm going to do new group from layers. We're going to call this Rob. Let's go back to Paul. We're going to go to hash. Yeah, when I went off and on that layer, nothing changed. So we need to add a few little hash marks. Let's just do that real quick. So we're going to press D, then B, then brushes, then 3 cartoon. That'll be okay. We're going to just do this. Then we'll erase some of those edges. We'll zoom in. I pressed E to erase. Just come in here. Let's add one here and here. I'm gonna erase some of these edges. We'll do what we did with the other guys. We'll do this little, let's do that again. Maybe that way and that way. Then we'll erase some of the edge. It was kind of tapered. And I think that's good. I don't think we need to do too much else to Paul. So we'll come over here to Rob, and we're gonna hide that conference table. We're gonna go press line, then H, and we're gonna lower the opacity to somewhere between 35 and 50. Go back to line. We'll increase the opacity later. This is just so that we can see our line work. And the cool thing with this tracing technique is that, you know, you really get the form of a person. And if you don't like their expression, you know, you can change it. As you know, a tracing technique is merely suggestive. I didn't like that. I need to have this airbrush on, this faded airbrush. See how when I went up towards the ear area, when it came down, it's really soft, and down here it's real soft. That's kind of what I want. Same thing with the chin. If you notice with this chin, it's really pronounced right here, and then it tapers off here, but it doesn't really do the same thing over here. But there is a second line here, and that's just sort of how his face is. So what we're going to do is we're going to try our best to duplicate what's going on there. So there's that, and there's sort of I mean, this is kind of like what it is. It's just not straight, right? It's not what you would expect it to be. But we're going to be nice. We're going to just see if we can do that. And here. So instead of him looking like kind of frowning and sad, we're just gonna give him sort of a neutral expression. We don't have to copy the picture. The picture underneath is mostly so that we get the right skin tone. And so you get the placement of the eyes and ears and everything more anatomically correct. But you don't have to. I mean, I can show you other ways to do a cartoon that does not involve tracing at all. This is just one technique to get a good portrait. And in fact, I recommend tracing when you're learning Photoshop or learning how to do things like roses. You know, there's certain objects and people that when you have something to trace, you end up really learning from how the form is and how the curves go and stuff like that. I was going to do some color, but I think I'll just continue with the line work here. So I'm going to make this brush a little smaller. So now it's a 2 instead of a 3, and that's because we're in the eye area. And I do like these creases to be separated. So we are just doing really light strokes. Some are going up to down, some are going down to up. I'm just kind of mixing it up. Now we're going to do his hair. Alright, so I can't really tell what direction his hair is going over here, so I'm going to increase the opacity just a little bit. Go back to line, and now we can kind of see that this hair kind of goes like that. And this one kind of goes like that. And this one kind of curves, and then they start to get a little smaller. And this one kind of curves around and zigzags down. These are kind of big U shapes down here. And then these other ones kind of have several curves within sort of one line. Alright, so I think we sort of have his hair. We're just putting some that's closer to his hairline so we can really have that pronounced and not just kind of wildly growing randomly. darken some of those eyebrow. Whoa. When it does that, that's usually my tablet. It just does that randomly. Sorry about that. Alright, let's pull back and do the ears. So we zoomed out, we pressed the hand tool. We're darkening those nostrils. We're adding a little bit of darkness here on the inner corner of the lips. Now we can go to color. We'll go to D, then X, then brushes. We'll go to the 9 soft and bring it down to about a 3. Let's do a 2 since we're doing the eyes. We'll do the eyes first. So we're gonna change where his highlight in his eye is. Like his is naturally on the left side, his little highlight. We're gonna move it to the right. This is just one of those little extra things that keeps it original. So we're just gonna change that. And we're adding a little dark shadow to that crease above his eye. Now I'm adding a little bit of black in here. I should still be on that color layer. I am. Okay, good. Alright, so now I'm going to add some color. So we're going to go and make a new, you know, we don't really even need to make, I mean, I guess we do. I was thinking, well, we don't really need to make another library for him. Most of his skin here looks like it's 2 colors, but actually there might be a few. Let's just quickly just do Rob, create, we'll press I. We're gonna just see if we can get some kind of variety of colors in his face. We're gonna end up having to probably just make up some colors for him because it looks like this picture of him is kind of flat. I mean, these colors kind of look all the same. I think that might be all I can get. And notice how similar they look. Those are very similar colors. Nearly imperceptible. You know, a colorist or, you know, an artist can definitely tell. But, you know, most people aren't going to really notice. But in colorizing portraits of people, people are definitely going to notice, you know, when those colors are mixed, they can definitely look like they have brought something into sort of a 3-dimensional life form. Here I'm just adding a little bit of white. This is sort of lighting rather than light, like a highlight. It's not, I wouldn't call this a highlight, I would call this more of lighting. And then we'll put light on it. Which reminds me, I want to go back to Paul's nose. And where the color is, I'm just going to add a little bit of white right there. Yeah. Alright. Alright, so we're going to come back to color here on Rob's face. And I'm just going to start coloring in some areas that I know we're probably going to put some white. Even though we can't really see it, I'm sort of, you know, trying to guess where I imagine that would look. That's not really blended very well, but that's okay. We're going to be blending it with other colors. Remember, light to dark, light to dark. So we're going to add some on top of it. And then we can add something on top of that. And then we don't really have anything darker, so let's make some colors. How about that? we're gonna give him some other colors, just like we did with Paul's face. So let's add this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. And notice I'm kind of keeping the cursor sort of in the same general vicinity. I'm kind of going in a circle, I'm going right outside the circle, but I'm kind of keeping it in the same area here. And I also want to get a darker color. So I'm going to do that, and let's get a little bit of this brown, like this grayish color, so we can get sort of this bearded 5 o'clock shadow. Alright, see how I'm kind of creating sort of a darkened area. This gives it some dimension. It also helps define his jawline where there wasn't really a whole lot. And it kind of gives you, you know, you'll be able to tell more about what he looks like from far away. Like you can go, okay, he has a little bit of hair that usually grows in this area. And we can tell that because in the picture, you can tell that he has shaved. You can just tell there's all these little red bumps. Those are shaving bumps. So he shaves. So this here would be all hair. And what we can do is just come in here and smooth it out. And you know, we added some scruff on pretty much everyone except Paul Manafort. We could probably go back and do some on him. But we don't have to. I think this might be even better. Just kind of make them all look a little more different and give them some character. You know what I'm saying? So now we're going to add a little bit of this mauve color. The interesting thing about this color for me is that this is a color I usually use for lipstick when I'm doing sort of a natural lip on a lot of women cartoons. You know, not all women have the magenta lipstick. This color is, I'll just do it sort of on the corners of his lips so you can kind of see. See, it kind of has that neutral lip. Now we'll add some of his skin color to those lips and a little bit of that pink that we got earlier. And let's add a little bit of this and a little bit of that. We'll get some white. We'll press B. We're going to go over his teeth so they're just white. We're not going to add any detail. I don't even want to put a light little line for his teeth. I don't want to. I'm just going to leave it white. That's just an artist, that's just a preference of mine, you know. You can put your lines there, it's fine. You know, I think the object here is to know your style and what works well for you. You know, we're all doing things a little different. You know, it's possible you might watch this video and pick up a thing or two, and maybe just use one thing of all the things I've shown you, and that's okay too, you know. Or nothing. Like hopefully, like see this there, that was my tablet messing up. Sometimes it just makes straight lines. I don't know why. Just sometimes when it gets overloaded, it'll do that. What I find interesting about Rob's eyebrows is that when they lift, they actually come up off the crease. But most eyebrows don't do that. I mean, most of them come like this, you know, and they're like, it's like super dark. Like, I would imagine that's how they probably should look. So, I mean, I think I might actually do that. And this is where I'm changing the picture, you know. It doesn't have to look exactly like it, but I have the bone structure in the right place. You know what I mean? Like we have his nose is in the right place, his eyes are in the right place, his lips are in the right place, his cheeks are in the right place, his ears, etc. So if we alter this shadow that connects the top of the bone of the nose, this area up here all the way above his eyes, and then connect it with his eyebrows that are visibly lifted way above that, it gives the impression that we are, you know, making him more visually different, but like we're changing how he looks by giving the same sort of bones, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta know what the rules are to break them, sort of thing. Right now that's kind of dark, it's not gonna do us much good, but we can take some of this brown from Paul Manafort's face and we can borrow it to fill in on top of what we just added on Rob's face right here. And so now what we're doing is we're you know, changing up his eyes. We're changing that, but you're still going to recognize him because everything else is there. So when someone sees it, you know, they're going to go, well, I know the rest of it is him. But that part, well, that's the part that makes you go, oh, that's art, you know, it's different. So let's press M, and or in that case I just manually went there, and we can I just made the brush bigger. We can go in and we can make it look so it's not exactly like a triangle. We're gonna make each eye a little different because eyes are different. I'll go to D and brush again. I was making a straight line. There we go. So I liked the brown, but I'm gonna get some more brown. I'm borrowing browns from Paul's face, and I'm bringing it over to Rob's face, even though this is not his skin tone. And I'm doing this so that the pictures match. And, you know, I can always add in these other colors too, so that he'll still have his unique skin tone. But what this does is, you know, it'll make them look like a team. You know, this group on the left-hand side, they came in together in this meeting that I'm portraying. And so this, you know, this makes them look like they're all part of a family, so to speak. They all have some similar skin tones, and you may go, hey, they're all white, maybe that's it. Well, no, I mean, even if I was dealing with, you know, a black individual, I would still take some of their skin and put it on someone else just so that they all sort of have a matching tonality. I wouldn't use all the same colors, but definitely a few. Let's do this. So I'm adding a little bit of shadow that's coming out and away from the line. So the line went straight down diagonally here and stopped, but I continued in the color mode rather than the line mode. So here we're going to have a deepen and darkening under the eyelid to increase sort of the fold of the skin. His skin may not even actually do that. This is just exaggerating it. Okay, like this is cartooning. This is changing his skin, but still keeping him recognizable. Because, you know, you can change someone to the point that they just look like a completely different person. But when you can take someone and you can go, I know who that is, and that looks different than him, but it looks enough where I know who you're talking about, well, then the cartoon is, I would call it successful. You know, like if you can't tell what you're looking at when you're trying to convey something you hope people know, you know, then it's not as successful, usually. I mean, there's exceptions, but, you know, if you're doing something that's on recognition, like most people are going to see this guy and they're not going to know who he is. Like, who is this guy? I didn't even know who he was until today. You know, I was looking for pictures and I found it. I hope it's him. It'd be really funny if I put this cartoon out and then I come to find out that this guy I'm drawing is like some high school teacher. But I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it's just the right guy. Alright, so I kind of started with the outside of his neckline, and then I'm going in, because this is a layer of fat. I'm not afraid to say it. This is fat. I have it too. And I like to start from the outside and go in, and what that does is it sort of shows sort of the meat of the skin and what it's holding, and it kind of conveys chubbiness when you are able to darken the edges and make the soft inside. So we're going to multiply this and make the opacity about 27. And now every time I go over it, it's going to lightly darken those edges right here. And I have the brush very soft. Very soft. I'm going to come and watch. I'm going to give it a nice little swish. Like that. And it makes the face pop. It kind of gives it sort of that three-dimensional look. Boom, boom, boom. Now he's starting to look like he has more color on his face. I mean, we'll do a before and after when we're done. You'll see what I'm talking about. So with fat on, I kind of like to put bumpy lines by like not connecting them. Like, do you see how his skin's kind of like we're kind of putting a little bit of extra cushion? So I do this out of love. Like, I don't do this to be mean or anything. Like, I do this because, like, I just think it looks good, you know? So I'm going to look at it from far away, and we'll look at it, and then we'll come up close. I know I kind of made it look really fat, but, you know, like, we're doing a cartoon here. Why not? Let's exaggerate a little bit, you know? Because at the end of the day, this meeting that took place was something that should never have happened. Like, you know, it was one of those things. They were set up. And this guy that I'm drawing now, he's the one that set up this whole meeting. You know? So I don't feel bad poking fun at him a little bit. But it was a serious thing, you know? People have accused both sides of treason. It's one of those things, you know? And I just figured making a cartoon of it will allow people to sort of see who was there, you know, what went on. And recently we were told that, you know, the Senate intelligence had investigators who were able to look into the situation and found that this meeting was not what the fake news had said it was. You know, people were saying that that this was all about getting information, like op research, when really it wasn't. It was a nothing burger that involved, you know, some Russian lawyer talking about Russian adoptions. I mean, Jared Kushner was like, man, I'm getting out of here. I'm leaving early. This is dumb. And Don Jr., he said that he stayed in the room as a courtesy to this guy here that I'm drawing now, Rob Goldstone. Is that his name? Yeah, Rob Goldstone. So Rob Goldstone was an acquaintance. This guy here I'm drawing, he was an acquaintance of Donald Jr. And he's like, hey, I'll go to this meeting, you know, and he stayed in the meeting as a courtesy, but it was a nothing burger. He didn't even call the president about it. He didn't want to waste his time. So, you know, the Democrats, the leaders of the Democrat Party have done everything in their power to undermine the presidency at every turn. And it's really unfortunate, you know, because I think Donald Trump is a good man. I think his family is a good family. And I think they've been unfairly attacked and portrayed by the media and everywhere else. So I'm hoping that this cartoon will have people thinking a little bit differently, you know, about what really happened. So I'm going to go to line. I'm going to do a little bit of line work around this shirt. And I want to turn off this fading airbrush because it's not really necessary. We also want this at 100 and we want this at 100. Yeah. So I could leave his shirt like this, but I'm gonna put him in a suit just like the others. It'll be nice. Let's see here. We're gonna kind of look at this one and eyeball it and kind of give this one sort of a similar. Let's see. So usually there's a part that comes down like this. And I just spent all that time working on the necklace, and I'm not even going to show it. I was working around the necklace. Don't even need it. Let's see here. I need to see the conference table again, so we know how far down to go. So, let's see. I have it back on B. I don't want to zoom in that much. There we go. So I'm going to hide the conference table again. We're going to zoom out. And then we're going to add sort of, actually I need to see the conference table. Okay, so here we're going to have his shoulder kind of come in like that. And he'll be in this, he'll look a little funny there, but it's okay. It'll just make the cartoon look funny. Let's zoom out, see what we're dealing with. Alright, so I may have made his chin a little too realistic, so we're going to just soften that. We'll just soften that here. All I did was press M right here to get, or pressing this little, see how I just smoothed it out. So that's the reason why I did that, because I knew that we could always go in and change it, you know, if I didn't like it. And then M mode again, smudging. Alright, so what I did is I just kind of removed that shirt off of his neck, because we're going to put a different shirt here with a different collar so that he looks professional. Looks like he's in a meeting with other professionals, because I'm sure he was probably wearing a suit and tie when he had this meeting. I wouldn't be surprised. color suit should we put him in? We have already 2 blues and a dark gray. How about we put him in a blue tie? Oh, that's really blue. I don't like that one. Let's do maybe something like this. It's more of a, yeah, it's a little smokier. I'm getting some of that white color. And let's see, let's also go to D, B, we're gonna go to our line, and we're gonna get that to about a size 3 instead of 4. And we're gonna draw a little line here so we can tell that's where his shirt and jacket are separated. And then we can press I, get that. B, go to color. We can draw in here. And for the color of his suit, let's do like so maybe. Let's see how this looks. If we don't like it, we can change it. So I'm using a soft brush. I should be using a hard brush, but I'm not going to be using it long, so it won't matter. I don't even know if I like this color suit. I might have to change it. I just want to see how it looks from far away first. And I need to erase some of this top. Alright, let's see what we're looking at. Alright, let's do that shoulder a little different. We'll erase the line from here to here. And we're going to make this conference shape. We're going to reduce the opacity just enough where I can see where to stop the line. We'll press D, press B, press brushes. Then we go to 3 cartoon, go to layers, make sure we're on line. We want to come down maybe this far. He's kind of a big guy, so we'll just put him on 2 sides of the table. We'll just have fun. There we go. It'll just make more sense, because otherwise it just looks like he was cut off. We don't want to do that. So we're just going to have fun. And we'll alter reality. And then we'll take a look and see if we like this color or not, because I don't know. And we should also do a line to indicate his arm. Maybe like, well, he's a big guy. His arm's probably like, but we want to, it'll be nice. Alright, so we're going to make this back at 100. We're going to erase part of the color that went outside that line. Let's take a look and see what we think. So this is so far without highlights on his We can still put highlights on the others. Let's go ahead and do that real fast. We'll go. We already did it on Paul, but I want to put highlights on Jared and Dawn's jackets. And this way they'll really match. But let's go ahead and fill in this color on this tie real fast. Just kind of going back and touching it up. These little details can really help make a cartoon come alive. I'm just erasing the edges, just like we did before. There we go. And we'll come over here, we'll do the same thing. Now what I did there is I made straight lines, and then I'm going to erase to give the impression that it's all one curved line. So I drew several lines and then I erased parts of them. Alright, let's take a look. Oh, we still need to do that tie. Let's do one here, one here. Alright, we're going to zoom out. Alright, now let's go over here. Let's do that tie of Rob's. I just did the eyedropper on the tie so that we can make a darker shadow color. And we're going to make sure our brushes is on 9 soft because we're done with line work. We're going to go into blending. So we're zooming in, we're moving with the hand tool, we're pressing B. We're adding a shadow into the tie. And let's go ahead and turn on multiply so I can show you technique. We're put on 50% opacity. And you can see this kind of naturally increases the shadow. So this is kind of a time saver if you don't want to get original colors. You can use the same color and just let it naturally multiply. That's fine too. We can do the same thing with the jacket. So we're going to take the same color of the jacket and just start, see, just going over the same color over and over will just naturally give it the same color but shadowed. And so one thing to be aware of is when you kind of go off the edge, you kind of want to see what you're doing. I don't like where that's going. Let's do this, and without the multiply. We need a small brush. My computer wasn't really letting it change brushes. When it does that, sometimes it's really helpful to make sure you have brush presets already, because then you can just go back in and it'll reset whatever your computer is stopped on. I'm going to just manually take some of these colors that we just made here, and we're going to just paint with it. We're going to draw downward and draw these shoulders, and we're going to leave a little bit of light, like that light brown, between here and the top, and that'll kind of give it a nice little highlight. Same thing with here. And here we're going to get closer to the edge. We don't want to have a whole lot of dark, a whole lot of light here. I'm going to make this kind of dark. I'm adding in some white color to his shirt. Now, we don't have to leave these shirts all white. I've done that to stylize it. But other things you can do is make the shirt a light gray to start with, and then add white colors over it to make it more alive and more three-dimensional, like the tie. But if we do that, this will be even longer and it'll take a really long time. So I'm just going to kind of leave it like this, because it's already going to be a long one. Let's go to 3 cartoon layers, highlight. We're going to add highlight here. I didn't have it on white. There we go. Now it's on white. And let's see here. Let's see. I'm gonna erase these edges. See how it looks. Alright, this little area above his shirt, under his chin, is kind of white, so I'm gonna add a little bit of pink. Oh, I did that on the highlight later, so I'm gonna undo that and do it on this. And actually, I'm gonna lower the opacity. I didn't want it that strong. There we go. And we need to do it right here. There's a little bit of white, and I don't like little things from other images showing through. I really want to make it look cohesive as one image, and not like I've traced it. I mean, people looking at it will probably know that it's been traced, because you're like, hey, everything is too perfect. But all the coloring of it is what keeps it from looking traced, right? Because you're not tracing the color. The color is what's taking so long. You know what I mean? The color is what is, you know, really the original art in this piece. It's what keeps it different than the original image. And in fact, a lot of the line work is different too. But we want some similarities, you know, if we're going to trace, we gotta make sure we're tracing correctly. Although I do want to say it's perfectly okay to, you know, play around with it and do something that is different. It doesn't have to look exact. You kind of want something that's original. Like that's kind of interesting. Let's change this part of his jacket. I'm gonna make sure that this line is at 3. This opacity is not high enough, so we're gonna go to 100. Slide that down. I'm gonna erase these hash marks completely and this highlight part of it anyway. There we go. Because we want to make all these jackets they're wearing more similar. We'll even erase this highlight. We'll do it like we did the others. Now they all look like a team. Although, you know, Don Jr. hasn't really hung out with this Rob guy since this meeting, so not too much of a team anymore, but for the purpose of the meeting, we're going to kind of make it look like they're a team. But that wasn't really the case. Maybe we'll convey that somehow. I don't know yet. Right now, we're just drawing the picture. We're just drawing the people. We haven't even really given context or anything. We're just drawing who was there. I'm going to save this and we're going to make a new snapshot. Alright, so let's take a look at the before and after. Wait, I still need to do his hair, huh? And his forehead. Alright, let's finish that part first because I'm not ready to do the before and after. So his hair mostly looks like one color. This should be pretty easy. His hair is like all gray with some that are sort of a medium color. There's people in the hallway that are being crazy. We're staying in a hotel. There's people in the hallway that are yelling. It's not our family. Some people just have some things they're upset about, I guess. Alright, so I'm adding a little brown, but I kind of want to add like a gray like that. So we'll just put a little bit of both. How about that? There we go. Shave a few little ears off. I'll add a little bit of lighter gray to give him some more ears. And this will kind of help with, you know, he'll look older and younger at the same time, which kind of like shows, I don't know, it kind of shows a little bit of reality. So we got a little bit of light. And then we can add a highlight on top of the light. We want to go to brushes, cartoon line, and make it white. So I'm breaking this line up. I'm gonna give it a little zigzag here and here. And we're gonna erase just part of it. There we go. So what I want to do to really make that pop, one thing I really like to do is go into color and burn. So we're gonna burn some color. Let's do sort of like a brownish gray. Like that. And we're gonna make a small brush and we're gonna go around the highlight. And we're gonna darken parts of the area. Now, this burn tool, I have the exposure at 50%. It's really important that it's not be at 100 or even anywhere close to that. When you're burning, it's usually good to be in the lower range, in my opinion, rather than the higher range most of the time, because the higher range you end up losing pixels. It sucks. I just think this is better. Alright, so I went over the color, but it's just burning it, and it's now starting to create this line that I don't like. So what I'm going to do is go and create a regular brush. I'm going to take the color picker by pressing I. We're going to get that color gray. We're going to press B, and this is a hard brush I'm using. I don't usually use this, but when I'm going around the hairline, it's okay sometimes to play around. Sometimes you get some hard brushes and some soft brushes. Kind of looks interesting. Now I'm going to take a little bit of his, I need to get a soft brush for this. I'm going to soften what I just did with this color of his forehead. And so his forehead, I'm actually drawing in more forehead, but only in parts of where his hair is meeting his forehead. Does that make sense? Like, now you can see the hairline is not a complete straight line. You have all these hairs coming off it. And that really gives it that look. That gives it the dimension. That's what makes people really appreciate your art. And you have those sort of details coming through. We're also going to darken his eyebrows a bit. There we go. Alright, let's finish up his forehead here, and then we'll look at the before and after. We might even add another highlight to his head. And he needs a little more color, I think, to his forehead too, especially since we've added color to the lower part. We're adding some brown around those eyelids, those eyebrows, I mean. We're going to do around his forehead here. And that little line where his wrinkle was in his forehead, we just softly put a 10 brush around it, and that flows at 45%. So that means that I can barely press with my pen tool, and it's going to give it that soft edge without blowing it out too much. Here I'm adding a little gray. I'm not going to do this side, I'm just going to do this side. And that will show even more dimension and make it look slightly more realistic. Because if we do it both sides, it'll really cartoon it, but by doing it this way, I don't know, it just kind of gives it a little uniqueness. It just changes it up. I'm going to add a little bit of red into that gray. So you have this sort of made up sort of shadow. It's a superficial shadow. We're not even doing the shadow on his eye or anything. We're just doing enough that we know that he's behind Paul Manafort. Then we need to look at this ear. See that pink ear? We're just going to color that so it's all in color. Now his ear looks funny, right? We could really go in and fix that. Let's change the bottom up. We'll draw his ear a little different. It doesn't have to match entirely. So I'm going to hide the conference table and we're going to draw in a new ear. And it won't look like the picture, it'll just be one that we make up. There we go. Now, colored in. And then we need a little bit of extra color just so his ears look a little, whoa. See, the reason I did that, I didn't have it on a soft brush. Definitely want to work with soft brushes when you're putting color down, especially when you're blending. Now I'm pressing D for the ultimate shadow because D is black. Yeah, look at that. It's already starting to look right. So now, let's give the inner part of his eyes a darker setting. Alright, so let's look. I'm going to zoom out. Let's do a little bit of touch up on that color. We're going to go to Image, Adjustments, Hue/Saturation. And we're going to increase the saturation, but not by much, because he has a really pink tone, kind of like Jared Kushner. And not quite as much as Paul Manafort, so we're going to see by doing that it also changes the color of the suit. Let's see. That's kind of good. And we'll press Control L. We can lighten it just a hair because it's got very light skin. There we go. Alright. It's saved. And we're going to go to History and New Snapshot. Now we've got it saved. Now let's look at sort of the before and after. So that's before, that's after, before, after. His skin right here kind of needs to be blended. So let's there we go. I'm gonna do a new snapshot again. And I'm gonna delete the one that I had made before that. So we have this one. There we go.